Hey everyone, welcome. Today we're diving into an explainer on literally one of the most critical financial decisions you're ever going to make, navigating the whole Medicare maze. Turning 65 is a huge milestone, for sure, but choosing the wrong healthcare path right now, well, it can completely upend your retirement, your wallet, and your overall peace of mind. So today, we're breaking down the big choice you're facing right now, Medicare Advantage versus Original Medicare.
I want you to really think about this for a second. Could picking the wrong plan actually cost you thousands of dollars every single year? The scary truth? Yes, it absolutely can. See, a lot of seniors just pick a plan because, it looks great on paper, or maybe a buddy recommended it, but they do it without actually understanding the mechanics of what they're signing up for, and that is a massively costly mistake.
Because when you make that choice blindly, you're playing with some very real stakes. Suddenly, that top-tier specialist you've trusted for years, not covered. Your daily prescription meds, the price just doubled out of nowhere. Or, honestly, the worst-case scenario, you open your mail to find massive, completely unexpected surprise medical bills. We are here today to make sure that does not happen to you.
So to clear up all this confusion, here is our roadmap. We're going to look at the big choice, get Original Medicare explained, get Medicare Advantage unpacked, dive into the true cost comparison, and finally figure out which plan fits you.
All right, let's jump right into Path A, Original Medicare Explained.
The foundation here is actually surprisingly simple. It's the traditional government program, right? And it's basically broken down into two main parts. First, you've got Part A, which acts as your hospital coverage from when you actually get admitted. Then you have Part B, which handles your standard doctor visits and routine outpatient care. Sounds pretty straightforward, right?
And honestly, this is exactly why so many folks absolutely love Original Medicare. It's all about freedom. Think about it like a giant all-access pass. Let's say you're a snowbird. You spend your winters soaking up the sun down in Florida, but then you head back up to Michigan for the summer. With Original Medicare, you can usually see doctors in both of those states without stressing over restrictive networks. You can go to almost any doctor or hospital in America that takes Medicare. No networks, no referrals, no begging some insurance company for a permission slip.
But, well, you knew there was a catch coming, right? And it's a huge one. Original Medicare doesn't cover everything. It generally only covers about 80% of your approved medical bills. That leaves you on the hook for the remaining 20%. Now, 20% might sound like no big deal for a quick routine checkup, but remember, there is absolutely no cap on that, no limit. So if you suddenly need a major $100,000 surgery, yeah, that 20% means you're writing a check for 20 grand right out of your own pocket.
And you obviously can't just leave yourself wide open to that kind of unlimited financial risk. It's like sailing a boat with holes in it. You gotta plug them. To protect themselves, most people on Original Medicare buy a Medigap plan to cover that scary 20%, plus a Part D plan for their prescription drugs. But of course, those extra safety nets cost money. By the time you add the whole shebang up, your predictable fixed costs can easily hit $250, $350, or even more every single month. And that tends to go up as you get older.
Now, let's pivot over to Path B, Medicare Advantage Unpacked.
Medicare Advantage is what's known as Part C. Now, these plans are offered by private insurance companies that are approved by Medicare. And if you own a TV, you've definitely seen the commercials for these. They advertise some incredibly flashy extras. We're talking $0 monthly premiums, built-in dental and vision, help paying for hearing aids, free gym memberships, and prescription drug coverage just rolled right in. At first glance, it literally sounds too good to be true.
And look, for some people, let's call her Healthy Mary, it kind of is amazing. Mary rarely sees a doctor, she's super healthy, and she really wants that free dental and vision. A Medicare Advantage plan with a rock-bottom monthly cost saves her a ton of cash. But here's the network catch. You've got to play by their rules. You have to stay in-network. You usually have to jump through hoops to get referrals, and there's always the risk your absolute favorite doctor might just drop out of the network next year, forcing you to start all over again.
Okay, let's get down to the real meat of this explainer, the true cost comparison. I want you to think of healthcare costs like a giant iceberg. Upfront, Medicare Advantage looks way cheaper with that sweet $0 premium, right? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Look below the surface. You're getting hit with copays, coinsurance, and deductibles every single time you actually use the services. You're risking several $1,000s in out-of-pocket costs if you get sick. Original Medicare plus Medigap, sure, you have a much higher upfront monthly premium, but it keeps your yearly risk totally capped and highly, highly predictable.
Let's put this into perspective with real life. We already met healthy Mary. She's cruising along, paying her $0 premium, rarely visiting the clinic and saving money. But now look at John. John has the exact same Advantage plan, but John gets sick. Suddenly he's shelling out $20 every time he sees his regular doctor, $45 for every specialist visit, and literally hundreds of dollars a day if he ends up in the hospital. Because he got sick, his out-of-pocket costs are just snowballing incredibly fast.
So, what does this all mean for you? It really boils down to one ultimate trade-off. You've got to ask yourself, do you want lower monthly costs right now while you might be relatively healthy? Or do you want more predictable, stable healthcare costs later on for when you might actually get sick and need some serious care?
Which brings us to the big question. Which plan fits you?
Okay, pause. Before we match you up, I need to give you a massive warning. Seriously, don't miss this, because it's something folks don't realize until it's way too late. You might be sitting there thinking, hey, I'll just grab the cheap Advantage plan now, and if I get really sick later, I'll just swap over to Original Medicare and buy a Medigap plan. Actually, scratch that plan. Depending on your state, if you try to switch to Medigap later in life, insurance companies are legally allowed to scrutinize your health conditions, they can flat out deny you coverage, or they can charge you astronomically higher prices. Choosing carefully right at age 65 matters deeply.
All right, so let's figure out your profile. Original Medicare is generally going to be your best fit if you travel a lot, if you want maximum freedom to see any specialist in the country, and if you're okay paying a bit more upfront so you never have to sweat the cost of serious health issues down the road. On the flip side, the Advantage profile is a fantastic fit if you're pretty healthy, you're super budget conscious right now, you rarely travel out of your local area, and those extra perks like dental and vision are a big deal to you.
Once you kind of have a gut feeling about which path you want to take, you absolutely must run through this final enrollment checklist before signing any paperwork. Number 1, check your specific doctors. Call them and make sure they actually accept the exact plan you're about to buy. Number 2, check your current medications against the plan's formulary to see what you're actually going to pay at the pharmacy counter. And number 3, calculate your total possible yearly costs. Look at the maximum out-of-pocket limits. Do not just stare at that shiny $0 monthly premium.
And that brings us to the bottom line of today's explainer. The cheapest plan today isn't always the cheapest plan long-term, is it? Healthcare needs can and usually do change in the blink of an eye. So what will your healthcare truly cost when your needs suddenly change? It's a huge question, and honestly, getting it wrong is one of the most devastating errors we see. In fact, if you found this breakdown helpful, you definitely won't want to miss our follow-up explainer where we dive deep into the biggest Medicare mistakes seniors make at 65. Keep that big question in mind, do your homework, and we'll catch you in the next one.